Welcome to another episode of the Pennock Knockdown, a podcast where we unpack key tips and tricks for digital marketing leaders. I've got Carol Shih with me today. She is the founder of Qodespace. Carol, I'm excited to get into your line of work today. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nikki. First of all, great podcast name, and I appreciate being in orbit. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just mentioned that you are the founder at Qodespace. Tell our listeners what you guys do for DTC brands.
So Qodespace is a woman-owned and minority-owned boutique web development agency. We're also specialized in CRO and connecting with people like you that are marketing experts to elevate the brands that we work with. And mainly we are Shopify developers through and through. And it's just been such a wild ride, really focusing on delivering results for small, medium businesses to enterprise businesses, especially in the fashion and beauty space. I think Shopify, web dev, e-com has always been fairly exciting, especially during this time. So it's been really fun, and I love the boutique services that we do. So very excited to talk to you about some more tactics.
What were you doing before launching Qodespace?
Oof, great question. So I'm Australian and Taiwanese. I came here when I was 19, and I seeked very intentionally to get a green card and stay here. So after college, I went for a digital marketing agency that was willing to sponsor me a green card and a work visa. And I kind of dive into the world of digital marketing around like 20 years ago. And it's been changed a lot. And through that digital agency, I learned beginning to the end of the life cycle of e-commerce, from warehouse fulfillment, customer service, front and back end development, photo shoot and productions and how it displays on site, A/B testing, and as well as marketing initiatives, SEO, paid ads, organic pay channels. Those are just kind of the Rolodex of services that I've learned throughout my career. And then after that, I actually ended up working for Alibaba for cross-border. And then while I was doing all that, I had two developers approach me and ask me if I wanted to start Qodespace with them. And that's kind of where it's at. But my background has always surrounded fashion, apparel, skincare, but directly into e-com.
And how long has Qodespace been around now?
So Qodespace with the previous owners has been around since 2018. I did a non-hostile takeover. That's another podcast for another day. But I took over probably around 4 years ago.
Cool. So then you found yourself in the lane of doing some of what you learned at the agency when you were full service. How was that transition to kind of go from being a generalist or knowing a lot of general e-commerce stuff to now specializing in website CRO?
I think as an entrepreneur, and you know this too, Nikki, even when you're so knowledgeable in that field, it does not translate to being a business owner. Because being a business owner, you have to do so much more than being very knowledgeable in just that service list. So understanding your employee retention, P&L, how to service a client, customer service, right? And also understanding margins and how you're going to service a client. I mean, those are all skill sets that I learned after I became a business owner. But my skill sets, understanding the holistic view of e-com and how to pull the leverages from marketing, how to collaborate with dev team as well as creative team, that has helped me with a lot of conversations with brand owners, because I think that concept, even though it's very clear for me and you who has been touching hundreds of brands, we understand the synergy that needs to happen within the departments versus going silo and just managing one department at a time. So I think that's the biggest thing that I bring to the table with the experiences I've had.
I love it. Let's switch gears. I'm going to ask you a fun question for a minute, and it's because we have a lot of beauty listeners. So what is your favorite beauty product in rotation right now?
Oh God, that is just such a weak point for me. I'm a big skincare girl. My mother, she's always been just such a beauty freak. Like ever since I was a little girl, I would see her having like 6 different creams on different areas. Like she would have like an elbow cream just for her neck, just for her forehead. And I never really understood what's going on until I hit 30. So I was like, I get it. We got to get that collagen in. But I think for now, one of the things that I like to rotate and try out is Korean skincare. I mean, we gotta love it. Their technology is crazy. I just found this new sunscreen. It's not a sunscreen. It's a sunscreen patch that you can have. It's so thin, like skin thin, and you can paste it on your skin right here on the top of your cheek so that when the sun hits, like you're playing golf or whatever, not that I play golf, but I see the commercials, but this is where I put, and you can peel it off after, and it's UV protected. I have sensitive skin. I get eczema on my neck and my shoulders. So I use that for those things, and it's been wonderful. Korean sunscreen has just been amazing. I tapped in a lot of Medicube. I think that's what it's called. I do a lot of face masks at night. And I do it right before I need to go out, just need some moisturizing. But I also really like the brand La Roche Posay. I don't know if I'm ever saying those names right, but that has been saving me when I travel from US to Asia, because California is very, very dry. Yeah. And then Asia is very, very humid. That is the one product that I can use on both sides, and it's just worked really great for me. Secrets here.
Yeah, those were a lot of good tips. I have too recently been served a lot of ads about the mask for the sunscreen. So I'm interested to try that out. It seems really cool.
I do love that.
Now let's go back into professional lane and talk a little bit about, maybe we can start out with some of the changes and trends you've observed in 2025 and what that means for the way you're helping brands grow their website presence.
Let's tap into a little deeper with beauty. I think right now, with the swirl of beauty trends coming through, I think everyone is asking similar questions. And that is, number one, what does my customer want? And when they ask me that question, I always follow up with, well, let's go into your data. You and I understand this. Data is king, right? We need to understand user behavior in order to tailor the e-com site's experience so that they are buying what they want quickly. Right? I think what I'm also seeing here as a trend is, one, we do a lot of GA4 layering. So then we can start collecting data. And once you collect the right data, you start looking into patterns so that you understand user behavior. And once you understand user behavior, then you and I have business, because that means we can start talking to clients about A/B testing. What does that look like? And what does the result look like? And then we can start building them. And then we can start driving traffic. So when that happens, the results are usually very shocking, because the brand owners always think, well, I know who my ICP is. I know what she wants. So I'm just going to build my website that way. But then once you look at the behaviors and you look at the data, you're like, this is not at all what you think. The thousands of dollars of video that you created on TikTok and Instagram, you thought it was going to drive you a lot of traffic and conversion. It's actually not performing as you think. So I do love it when there's some shocking news that kind of resurface, because it really helps you have that conversation with the brand owner to see how you can pivot your e-com site to really tailor towards what your customers actually really want. So that's been really fun. I see a lot of quizzes that are enhanced on the website because people are asking the right questions. I think this is the best trend that I've seen with business owners that are really engaged with what does customers really want? And they start asking that, take a quiz. Tell me what your routine looks like. What do you really need? And then they start building that product line to service their loyal customers. So that's been really fun to see. And I think that conversation is always very fluid. And we see a lot of success when the brand owners know how to navigate that.
What happens? I think you kind of alluded to finding that nugget of aha where it's completely different than what a brand owner or the client team had in mind. We've been discovering that with a newly launched skincare brand that's for Gen Z and kind of Gen Alpha. Their users, the people who are responding to ads and converting the way we want, generally tend to be mature women. And the client's not sure how they feel about that. Like the first ask is, please don't market to those people. And we're like, well, if we don't market to those people, we're not going to have efficiency of spend. Have you, like, how are you dealing with conversations like that, pulling the data to kind of say, there's a different way that would be more successful?
Can we like talk about that real quick? The fact that you said the skincare brand is tailored towards Gen Z and Gen Alpha. For the audience to know, Nikki and I are both moms. And Nikki was just telling me her youngest child is 8 years old. So if we look at the data now, and I think this is something that everyone needs to kind of take a step back and really look into reality and what time zone we're in, right? We're 2025. Gen Alpha comes after Gen Z. The oldest Gen Alpha is currently 14, right? So they're in their teens, they're going to Sephora, they're shopping on TikTok, they're doing the nagging effect because they couldn't work, they're not working yet, so they have money in their pocket, so they're nagging their moms to buy it, right? So understand that's the current behavior now. But in 4 years, these 14-year-olds are entering work field. Number one, we don't even know if they're really going to work because the work environment's completely going to be different. And number two is so much AI development that's happening right now. We don't know what the user behavior is going to be like in 3 to 4 years when the Gen Alphas are taking into the business realm and they're looking to empty their pockets and buy things, right? And I think that skincare is really smart because they are pushing the timeline in front and be like, listen, there's whether you believe it or not, but like, you know, it's getting hotter and hotter around the globe. You need to use some skincare. It's best that you start around 13. And that's actually when I start my skincare. So I'm all in for it, but I really cannot predict right now what that user behavior is going to be like in even a year, 2 years, because live streaming is also getting really popular in Asia. I can see that coming into United States and North America as well. So it is all over the place and I'm very excited to see what's next and I'm fully prepared for it.
Yeah. And I guess to like connect the thread back to this customer experience or client experience is there is a chance that these older, mature women are buying for their kids. We haven't surveyed the customers yet to see if that's true or not. But I think a lot of like the preventative things and depending on like the hero ingredient, maybe a mismatch for the customer you're after. So that's interesting, but we have not proven yet if the purchase behavior is for a child or not. And that could be very likely what's going on.
I mean, as a mom, would you buy skincare for your daughter?
For her at the age of 8? No, she's using some of my things, which I suppose is not that great either, since there's probably some ingredients I use that are not safe for her delicate skin. But she's using some of my product that I deem is safe enough for her from time to time. She doesn't have like a morning or nighttime routine. Getting her to brush her teeth every morning is already challenging enough.
I was just going to say that. I was like, I can hardly get my kids to brush their teeth, let alone a routine with like a toner and face wash and everything.
I have to ask them to brush their teeth a few times because I'll like touch their tooth and I'm like, there's still grime on it or your breath stinks. So go back and do it again. The story of our lives. Okay, so that was a fun one to get into. What are you finding in terms of like what's working best to drive that CRO? Like, are there changes on product detail pages that are really kind of trending right now? Category landing pages, anything that's like a little bit different than if we were having this conversation a few years ago?
I think the quick answer here is no. I really haven't found this one template of PDP that is just performing very well above others. I mean, as everyone know, the term best practice is there because of how users are interacting with the current layout of whether it's mobile or on desktop. Yes, certain buttons need to be interactive, needs to have hover over state. Those are basic best practices. But when it comes to mobile interaction, it really does change depending on who is on the phone. Like we're talking about here, if it's men, middle age, they need buttons a little bit bigger because the way that they're viewing things, or it depends on what product it is. If it's like, you know, something that's really intricate, then you need to make sure the images are in full spec and need to be able to zoom in. At the end of the day, you and I know the data. 60-70% of the traffic all goes through mobile. So the questions I usually have with the clients here is not, should we redesign your PDP so that it converts better? It really does go back to one, what does the data say? And two, can we move your mobile onto an app? Because we all know that if you have a subscription model, for example, if you have skincare and you have subscription, the conversions are way higher if you can urge your customers to download your specific app. For example, I have a client, they are a multi-million-dollar skincare, they're a beauty device. And we can compare one, their mobile site just on desktop transformed into mobile, how it's performing versus you urging loyalty customers and say, hey, download our specific app, and you just see the conversion go higher. It's just a no-brainer because when you download the app, one, you're a loyal customer. You already know you want to buy it. Like my husband's a huge sneakerhead. He has like 3 Nike apps, and all these apps sends him SMS and sends him emails and telling him, hey, new things drop. And it's so easy to utilize an app versus a Shopify mobile site if you have a customer that knows exactly what they want. So I would lean more towards one, data, and two, looking into different ways that are not as traditional shopping behavior and see what are the younger generation or the ones that you are grooming to buy your product. How are they really shopping?
And then Walder will cut that part out, so don't worry.
Sorry.
How are you feeling about virtual try-on for like color cosmetics or even fashion? Is that going to be like mainstay here in a few years, or do you think it's still kind of like nice to have, not a need to have?
I'm a little old fashioned. I feel like it's more on the latter end. And one, I haven't tried out a good try-on that actually works very well. I think that the filters that the Instagram, TikTok has been doing has been phenomenal. And we really, really upgraded that technology. So I feel like the try-on technology is going to be even better. But so far from my clients and the book of business I'm handling, the ones that does try, I don't see people using it as much. Or has it ever been a dictating point of why people convert or they don't? So I'm not sure. I'm going to probably lean towards more experts who have done it before. But for me, I haven't seen too much of that. I just think that the technology is going to get better in the next couple of years, but not yet.
And then I guess switching gears to what's going on in the SEO space, are your clients like having asks of you, needs of you in the space that you're in for AEO and GEO and just making sure that they show up on the Geminis, the Chat GPTs, things of that sort? Or are people not really concerned about it yet?
There definitely is, especially clients that are redesigning and retheming. Those ones, especially adding new tags or they're shifting from one platform to the other. I've had quite a bit, like a handful of clients that are either migrating from one platform back onto Shopify. When you have so many landing pages and so many URLs, I think the e-com clients that are maybe over 3 to 5 million GMV, they have a much better understanding of the impact of SEO and how that really, really can help you bring in those low-hanging fruits and convert. Because a lot of people are like, well, SEO is not that big of a deal. But I was like, you should never think that way because SEO is a long-term game. I actually had a webinar with a partner and we talked a lot about how redesign SEO, how that impacts your conversion in the long run. So I think the ones that are really tuned in onto their business understands the importance of SEO to answer that question. And for those that don't, I usually remind them and be like, I think we should do an audit just to see where you're at, because that really, really dictates how much money you're dumping into your paid ads and how that impacts.
That makes sense. Do you have any like major icks that you come across when you're looking at sites that you just want to tell the listeners, like, please don't do these couple of things on the website?
There's so many. I think a lot of times the frequently behavior that I see that makes me secretly roll my eyes is when a very prestige brand and I see their homepage and then you notice that the call to action or any of the text is burned into the image because they spend a lot of money on these creative shoots and whatnot. And then they told their creative agency or creative people like, hey, just like add all these texts and whatever on it. But those are not crawlable. They're not SEO friendly. So when you do something like that, it just shoots yourself in the foot because you're not really helping people to search your products more appropriately. That's one ick. My CTO will tell you probably 20 more, but I think that's one of the big ones. Some of the easy ones are like hover over state. Like, come on, we got to have some kind of CTA, call to action. So when you hover over, and then that ties into the other ick I have is ADA compliance. People don't understand that there are lawyers out there Their job specifically on a daily basis is going on websites and see if it's ADA compliant. And if it's not, and they know you're more of a prestige brand and you're making good money, they will threaten you and send you a letter and be like, we're about to sue you because your website's not ADA compliant. And then I get a panic call. I go,
right,
Carol, what are we going to do? And I go, well, I kind of told you up front, you need to download X, Y, and Z. You need to fix these fonts. I know you think it's very chic, very magazine friendly when your font is at 3.5, but no one can read it. Right. And you want people to read it instead of just going on a website and think this is very cute and chic and pretty. Gotta have people to convert. That's why you have a store. So you'd be surprised how many times I have to have that come to Jesus conversation with the brand owner, with the business owner, and be like, what do you really want? Do you want to make money? Or do you just want to have a very pretty brochure site? And that's always a tough conversation to have. But I'm glad my clients are open to that.
Yeah. And I can say firsthand from our like 80 plus clients over the years, we have had that note come through from a lawyer saying your site is not ADA compliant. So even as a paid media team for the clients, like we hear about it and they're freaking out, so it's something we've definitely seen firsthand. Love those Icks. I think they're great. I think the other thing I'll say about the small font size is even in the ad lane, like I don't know how many scrolls of Instagram I take a day before I see font that's so small in an ad or in a organic post. And you're like, did anyone review this like off a desktop to see what it will look like for a user? So I'm with you, but it's maybe kind of cueing my age too, that the small fonts are a problem.
I always feel that way too, but you're so right. That's another thing. A lot of teams like the marketing team, the creative team, you have to remember, first of all, after pandemic, there's a trend of everybody working from home. So we're all working from home. So that means everyone's desk is set up to perfection, where your screen is like 75 inches, right? And then you have two dual screens and you're looking and you're reviewing your website with the development team on those big screens. So to you, it looks perfect, but you forget 60-70% of your people that are buying on your website are on their phones. So like you said, if the font works on your 75 screen, then what is that going to look like on your mobile? And if I have to zoom in to look at what the text is, then you're just not going to convert. That's easy as that because people can't read it.
Exactly. Definitely echoing what you're saying in terms of just alignment for the issue. So Carol, it's been super great to have you on the show. I want to ask a final question before telling people how they can find you. And that's if you were to go back to coming to the US at the age of 19, figuring stuff out, what advice would you give yourself if you were doing it all again?
Oh, what a great question to end. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I think I figured out the top 3 questions I ask myself when I'm lingering in a job for more than 3 to 5 years. I think I've come down to these 3 questions that I always wished that I knew to ask myself when I was younger. One of them is, do I love my job? And if I don't love my job, it shows in my quality of work. And that's my reputation. So I always want to ask myself, am I doing something that I love? And number 2 is, am I bringing in any value? I think everybody wants to bring some sort of value to your team, to your company, to whatever you are doing. We want to feel like we're being valued in our skill set. So that's number 2. I always ask myself, am I doing anything to enhance myself, to bring in value to the team? Number 3, and that's the final question, is, am I learning anything? I'm going to keep learning until I'm like 85 and I'm not going to stop learning. So if I'm at a job, when you're at a job for more than 5 years, most likely you're not learning anything new anymore besides maybe EQ skill sets or human interaction skill sets or managing up, depending on what position you're in. So those 3 questions, I always wish that I knew to digest that and have some self-awareness when I'm in my 20s, when I'm hustling and head down learning all these things about e-com. But I wish I was a little bit more bold in challenging myself to do a little bit more and get out of my comfort zone.
Really, really good insights. I love how you framed it as 3 questions. I wish I was smart enough to have asked myself those questions too. Right. But hearing about your first job, it sounds like you learned a ton. So I imagine that was a really positive mark on that question, should you have asked yourself back in the day. Carol, if people want to get in touch, follow along with what Qodespace is doing, where should they go?
I can be found on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Again, my name is spelled Carol and Shih is my last name. But you can also find me or contact us at qodespace.com. Qode is just like coding, Code, but it's spelled with a Q to start with, because I want to emphasize the Q because quality comes first for our company. Our core value is always focusing on quality, community, being purposeful and transparent. Those are our core values. So if you want to contact Qodespace, it starts with a Q, QODESPACE.com. You can find us and contact us, or go to Nikki and feel free to email me directly.
Love it. Carol, always fun to catch up. Thank you so much for your time today. And to all the listeners, thanks for tuning in till the end.
Thank you. You're brilliant, Nikki. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.